Thanks for tuning in to Real Talk with Tamara. On today's show, I have Valencia Harris. Valencia called in from Washington, D.C. to speak about Unique Harris. Ms. Harris.
You're very welcome, my dear. You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
So how have you been since all of this taking place?
Well, I'm sure you can imagine that, it's definitely over the last almost 5 years been somewhat of an emotional roller coaster. Some days you have your good days, some moments you have your good moments, and then there are other times, when, it just all things like it's falling apart. But, for the most part, by the grace of God, I'm still here to fight the good fight and, find my baby because she's out there somewhere and I'm not going to have any type of peace until she's found and brought home to my grandson where she belongs.
Absolutely. Before we start to get into everything, Unique is your daughter.
Yes.
How old was she when she went missing?
Unique was 24 years old when she was taken.
Okay, what kind of person was Unique?
Oh, boy, I love talking about the type of person that she is because my daughter is, definitely one of the sweetest people that you ever want to meet. She was very giving, she was very loving, and I say it all the time, sometimes my other two children get a little bit testy about it, but I say it all the time. She's hands down my sweetest child. Unique, will go out of her way to do anything for anyone. And to be quite frank with you, Tamara, I believe that that's probably what set her up for something like this to happen to her.
Mm-hmm. So she went missing. Right. So she went missing. You talk about those numbers 10, 10, 10 being significant. October 10th of 2010. Can you explain to me what happened? Like, she went missing from her home.
Yes. Someone apparently got into her home in the middle of the night into October the 10th of 2010. We have her last cell phone call happening at approximately 3 o'clock in the morning, in the 3 o'clock a.m. hour on October the 10th, 2010. So we do know that at that time, that Unique was still accounted for and still, somewhere where she could be found. After that point, at the end of that phone call is where the mystery comes in. Because between 3 o'clock a.m. on October the 10th, 2010, that last phone call on her phone, and when my grandsons and my great-niece, Talia Reed, woke up the next morning at approximately 9 or 9:30 a.m., is our time frame that we're looking at as far as when she was taken. And apparently, someone came into her home and took her out of the apartment because my great niece, which was 10 at the time, she was getting ready to turn 10 within a day or two of Unique's abduction. And my grandson's version of the story is that, they went to bed that night because Unique had my great niece over to spend the night. They were having a little movie night for her and the children. And, she had just moved in the apartment where she was taken from 5 weeks prior. So, she was just kind of trying to get relaxed in her new environment, unpack, that sort of thing. And according to the children, she was there when she put them down to bed that night, and the next morning when they woke up, she just was nowhere to be found. At that point, my great niece called her mom and let her mom know that, Unique was, not there. So my great niece's mom, Tiffany, she had, thought that maybe, Unique was trying to go out, earlier in the morning before the children woke up and get some last minute things for their breakfast or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
But as the day progressed along and it was drawing closer for the time to her agreed time between Tiffany, my great niece's mom, and Unique, their arrangement was for Tiffany to pick up Talia approximately 3 o'clock that afternoon.
Uh-huh.
So from the time that Tiffany talked to my great niece Talia, that morning when the children first woke up and Talia said that Unique was, not there, throughout the day, Tiffany told me that she was, calling periodically, like every hour or so to see whether Unique would resurface.
Uh-huh.
And, she didn't want to alarm me unnecessarily. So I didn't even get wind of the fact until Unique was unaccounted for until approximately 4 or 5 o'clock from the afternoon into the evening of October the 10th, 2010.
Uh-huh.
And at that point, when I realized that those children, when I was told by Tiffany that those children had been in the house, in the apartment by themselves all day, and Unique wasn't there, answering her phone, etc., all day, that's when, your mom instinct kicks in, like, wait a minute, now this is not like my daughter. My daughter would never have left those children in the house by themselves.
Right. Right. So you said the last trace that you all have of her, of anything she ever did, was a phone call at 3 a.m. So was it from her cell? Was it from her cell phone or from her house phone?
Yes, it was from her. It was on her cell phone. Unique was more of a, techie generation, person where, the cell phone was like, the main phone.
Right, like me.
And suspiciously, oddly enough, her cell phone and her keys to her apartment were the only things that were taken when she was taken.
Was her purse and everything else still?
Mystery. Her purse was still in her apartment. Her debit card was still in her apartment. And the thing that was the major trigger for me was her eyeglasses was left in her apartment, just as she would have put them she had laid down and gone to bed, because Unique had herself into a habit of she would lay her glasses down, next to her on her bed at night. So in the morning when she first woke up, all she had to do was reach for her glasses, put them on, and proceed with her day. This is a habit that she attained, from me, ironically enough, when she was younger, and I had to buy her glasses. I would always, she would go to sleep with her glasses on, and I would, pop her hands throughout the night and, wake up and take those glasses off. You can't break those glasses. Those glasses cost too much money, that sort of thing. So she had adopted a pattern of taking her glasses off at night, folding them up, leaving them on her pillow, going to sleep, waking up the next morning, immediately putting her glasses on. This is how reliant she was on her glasses. So, naturally, that was a major red flag for me. Because for one thing, my daughter lived on the top floor of her building. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that there's no way that my daughter could have got out of her building from the top floor and outside of the building without the assistance of her glasses. That's how reliant she was on those glasses. So that's why that was like the first red flag for me, outside of the phone call that she was unaccounted for and the children were in the apartment by themselves.
Wow. And there was nothing out of place, there was nothing knocked over, there was no sign of a struggle, nothing.
Well, that is the interpretation of the police, that there was nothing out of place. But earlier on, that October the 10th afternoon, when I finally, we got the boys back over to where we were at my apartment, which was approximately about 5 minutes away from where she lived. Then that's when we went into, mode of, okay, where could she be, and we had started our own search and started, generating our own flyers and that sort of thing. So So, it's just a situation where your child or your family member, what their patterns are, and when anything goes outside of that pattern, there's something that's wrong.
Right. Now you spoke about Unique lived up on the 3rd floor of her building. Do you think that whoever took her, that she let them in, was her door kicked in or anything?
Well, that's the weird part about the whole thing, Tamara, is, the apartment complex that she lives in was not one of your better apartment complexes. And, ironically enough, my dad had spoken to her just prior to, this situation happened in reference to, her getting the people, the maintenance department or what have you in the complex to fix her door, because it looked like someone had already, prior to her moving in, had that door kicked in or something of that nature. So we were already very concerned about, the neighborhood, because I went to the neighborhood prior to her moving in, as I'm sure all moms do, to try to, check out the area, the school system, and that sort of thing. And I was very, very disturbed at what I saw. And me and my dad, we talked to Unique and talked to Unique. Her sister talked to her. We all tried to talk to her to get her not to move into this complex because of, what we saw.
Right.
In the complex. But her being on the 3rd floor, there is no way, possibly, with the deterioration of my daughter's eyesight, that she would have been able to get from her apartment, which was on the top floor of that building, down approximately 7 to 10 flights of 5 or 6 stairs, out of the building without her glasses. She couldn't even see, clearly in front of her a good 5 feet without her glasses. So getting out of the building is definitely, definitely not something that I can even entertain as her mom, knowing what her vision is like.
Right. So, enters the police department. When you call the police department, with her being 24 years old, what happened?
Well, it was in the beginning, I'm not sure whether this is their normal routine or this is just what happened in my daughter's situation. They wanted me to call her to see whether she would answer my call, ask me questions like, has she ever done this before? Does she have a boyfriend? Will she have left with her boyfriend? Is it in her character to just leave her children, like this and that sort of thing, which definitely, was a no-go as far as me being her mother and knowing, her patterns of how she did things. So, again, the police, they were, I don't want to say unconcerned, but I don't think they realized the level of concern that should have been warranted, because their original flyers that they generated for public was that this was a non-critical missing persons case. And my first, thought and response to that was, well, what in the world is a non-critical missing person? As far as I'm concerned, if somebody's missing, that's critical.
Right.
So I had to go back and forth with them, probably about a week or so, and finally that got changed and upgraded to critical non-missing person, which it is still standing at that status to this day.
You say what? It's still at that status to this day, non-critical?
No, it's still at the status of critical
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry.
Really press the issue of, there's no, to me, there's no such thing as a non-critical.
Absolutely.
A missing person is a missing person, and that's critical, period. And, luckily, DC does not have any time frame law where you have to wait, like 24, 36, 48, or, any number of hours before you can report a person missing. You can report a person missing immediately.
Okay. Now, did Unique have a car?
No, she did not have a car. There was no vehicle involved as far as on her part, no.
Okay. So, do you feel like she knew whoever it was? Because with there being no forced entry, either somebody had a key or she let him in.
I do feel like it was someone that she knew. My personal feeling is that it was probably somebody, that she didn't know very well, and know there would not be, in my mind, a situation where she would let someone, that she didn't know into her apartment, especially with her children there. That was not Unique's way. That is definitely not how Unique, does her, safety. She's more protective over her and her children's safety. She's more protective than that. So I do believe it probably was someone that she knows, and I believe also that it was somebody, because we have to keep in mind here that Unique only lived in this apartment for 5 weeks.
So she was there.
Moved my daughter's things out of her apartment a few months after her abduction, when the police finally released her apartment to me. My child still had black boxes that she had not even unpacked, which was part of the reason why, she was taking this break that particular weekend, because, as I discussed with you on the phone prior, I had recently broken my leg, and she was assisting me, with my recovery.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. So, has there been any suspects?
I wouldn't say suspects per se.
But persons of interest?
I would say, just me personally, I would say that there are definitely some persons of interest that, in me and my daughter, my son, and my family going out into this complex and pounding the pavement and, having the prayer vigils and, getting out into the community and really, really digging into this on our own. There are some people that in my mind are at the very least persons of interest.
Okay, before we get into that, I want to go back to, now you stated that the area that Unique was living in at the time was not a really good area either.
No, it wasn't.
Okay, and you said
still to this day isn't.
And it still to this day isn't. Okay, we're going to get into the persons of interest and why they are after we take this commercial break, and we'll be right back. My name is Tamara, host of Real Talk with Tamara, owner of Tamara Productions Network. I'm proud to say that my network is expanding. We're producing reality shows, TV shows, and just like I produce my own TV talk show, Real Talk with Tamara, and record it, I'm also doing the same with other TV talk shows. So, if you have a TV idea, if you have an idea and you want it on TV, give me a call. We have a gang of producers over here that would love to help you to get your message out. If you're looking for a studio to record your shows in, look no further. We have a big new studio that we would love to have you at. If you have a business and you would like to advertise on Real Talk with Tamara or on Tamara's Productions Network, give me a call. If you need a commercial, don't worry about that. I have a team of experts that can produce you a professional commercial for your business. As I said, be on the lookout for Tamara's Productions Network. We're on the rise. Welcome back to Real Talk with Tamara. On today's show, I've been speaking with Valencia Harris. Valencia called in from Washington, D.C. to speak about her daughter, Unique Harris. Unique went missing, 24-year-old Unique Harris went missing October 10th of 2010 without a trace from her apartment while her children laid in the next room sleeping. Her children were unharmed. Okay, Miss Harris, before we went to break, we were talking about persons of interest. Has there been any?
As you know, in my opinion, there is. I mean, the Washington, D.C. Police Department are very, cautious about using, persons of interest or suspects in any titles as far as, anybody thus far that has been questioned in Unique's case. However, I had personal contact with a person that was on the maintenance staff of the complex that Unique lived in that, in my opinion, he just kept oddly injecting himself into, my search for my daughter. Me and my family would go out there and he would, inject himself in and, he gave us a whole bunch of different around Marbury Bush stories about, he was the only one that cut the keys to the apartment and, he was, familiar with my daughter and, he had been watching her through, his window, which was a clear view of the front of Unique's building and her comings and goings. So that struck me as odd. Okay, and then there was another individual that, I got named through the children that were in the apartment with Unique at the time that me and Unique's siblings and my family, we didn't even know existed until the children brought it to our attention. And we actually, me and my daughter and my dad actually went out and, did the ground and the leg work and found this gentleman. Mm-hmm. Which, my grandsons were kind of offstandish with him, which kind of like put me in a mode of, okay, well, these are normally bubbly children that, are comfortable with people, that they apparently should be comfortable with. I'm a firm believer in, children have a way of, opening our eyes to.
Oh, absolutely.
And people that are not, under normal statuses as, an okay person.
So you said your grandchildren were uncomfortable with this person?
Yes, because me and my daughter and my dad had actually found this person. We found him, we found where he lived, we finally got in touch with him through his mom and, his dad, and let's just say I wasn't totally comfortable with their version of their interaction with my daughter, which is what has them, in my opinion, at the very least, persons of interest in her abduction.
Mm-hmm.
Those
What?
are the two, like, main, you know, in my mind, you know, persons of interest that I have been really, really pressing, you know, and, you know, definitely making my opinion known to the DC Police Department and the detectives on my daughter's case.
Did your grandchildren speak about why they were uncomfortable? Because I know kids will tell you sometimes that they're, you know, unless fear has been put into them.
Yeah, well, let's just say they didn't speak to us as far as, you know, why they were uncomfortable, because the last thing that we wanted to do at that point was make them even more fearful or uncomfortable. So we kind of like, you know, I guess, you know, when I would call it skirt till around, you know, where they met him at, how they knew him, you know, and we were even shown exactly where he lived, which is one of the ways that we zoomed in on the focus of him and his parents.
So was he ever questioned by the police?
Yes, to my knowledge he was. To my knowledge he was, as well as a few other people. And in this group of people that have been questioned, there are, you know, a number of them that have been questioned more than once. We've had people to decline polygraph tests. We've had people that we just point blank know, just are outright lying about events surrounding their relationship with my daughter. We have people that are, you know, saying at one point that they'll be cooperative, and then when it's time to be cooperative, start back testing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been, you know, it's like swimming in murky waters, you know, it's like swimming in murky waters, you know, you can't see, you know, all the picture.
Mm-hmm.
You have some pieces that you need, and I have said to the detectives on my daughter's case numerous times that I already feel like whoever took my daughter is right in the net of people that we already have. And I firmly still believe that. But, Tamara, I'm sure you already know, it's one thing to feel and know something.
Absolutely.
It's a total horse of a different color to have the proof, the evidence, and everything that you need to, you know, take it to another level.
That's true. Did Unique ever speak to you, or did you all know of any like ex-boyfriends or boyfriends that she was at odds with that would have a reason to want to hurt her?
The only one that I would know would have any reason to hurt my daughter was my grandchildren's father, because they were in a court custody, child support battle at the time of her disappearance. As a matter of fact, she had a court date coming up in Richmond, Virginia, 2 weeks after she was abducted. And when I questioned him about that, he claimed that he didn't even know that the court date was on a docket, which left me, you know, kind of like, okay, well, you know, who has a court date and don't know that they have a court date, especially when this has been court custody or child custody case that had been, you know, dragging on for 2 years at the time of her abduction, which originated in 2008. Because I've gone back through a lot of her records, you know, her papers, and this is how I came to find this information out from her daily planner.
So
at the time, originally, I didn't even know I know they were in a, you know, child custody and child support case, but I didn't know that they had another court date that was on the docket for so soon after her abduction, until I started going through her things, trying to look for, you know, anything that I could find that would help us to find her.
Mm-hmm. So she was actually fighting her child's father for custody of the child, and he said he didn't know nothing about it.
That's the version of the story that he gave me when I questioned him about it was, oh, he didn't know anything about they had another court date coming up and, this sort of thing. And, that really, really took me to even pursuing the police department even more as far as polygraphing him because he didn't even get polygraphed for 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me, that's a little bit odd, because I always, feel like, it's supposed to start with the inner circle and work your way out.
Absolutely.
Especially if someone in your inner circle has something, which he's had, a history of violence towards my daughter.
So that's what I was going to ask you. Was there ever a history of violence between those two? I mean, had he been violent with her in the past?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. My daughter had called me totally, just irate one time when, there was a situation going on where, he was kicking her door trying to get into her apartment. And she was at that point, just finished with that relationship, like, okay, you go your way and I go my way, and, you can see your children whenever you want, but, he still had this thing for my daughter where, he wasn't, let's just say he wasn't as willing to let go of the situation as my daughter was at that point.
So when you, because I'm still stuck on somebody who's fighting for custody of a child and then say they don't know the court dates, and they're actually fighting the person for custody of the child, but they didn't know, he didn't know that there was a court date.
That's exactly how I feel when, I point blank question him, myself. Well, what was the situation with your court date that was coming up? And, that's when he, we didn't have a court date coming up. What do you mean you didn't have a court date coming up? Yes, you did. It's here in her daily planner, as well as I have found the actual court papers because my daughter, kept files, as I told her to do, on prevalent things that needed to be taken care of and handled. So, that's how I know how far back in 2008 it started getting a little bit like, out of hand, in my opinion.
So who has your grandchildren now?
Well, his dad and his mom have taken the children and they have stripped me of each and every visitation right that I had. It's really not, too shocking to me because they were trying to get my daughter's children before my daughter was even abducted, because there was a time back in, I believe it was like probably about 2006, 2007, where they were trying to get my daughter to sign some papers from the story that I got from my daughter, turning her children over to them. And my response to that was, okay, well, two eyes are better, two sets of eyes are better than one. So I told my daughter, I said, you didn't have them to back the paper that they're talking about to my job, because I wasn't clear on whether they were just, trying to come up with some type of out-of-court, arrangement as far as the children.
Right.
Exactly what was going on. But, those papers, mysteriously enough, never got back to me, and that whole thing apparently just got dropped when I said it happened and faxed it to me for me to look it over.
So they was actually trying to trick her into signing her children over. Why would they want to?
That's exactly what I believe. That's exactly what I believe, because it's mighty weird that, you're going after the mom. The mom doesn't have any legal access expertise. And then when, grandma comes in and say, okay, well, we're going to go through this with a fine-tooth comb, even if we have to get an attorney, then all of a sudden you start backpedaling on it and there's no documents being passed or anything. At that point, that's suspect to me. That's very suspect to me.
Did your daughter ever express to you why they were trying so hard to take the kids from her?
She really didn't know why, and Nick was kind of taken aback at the whole situation because, she felt as well as, the rest of us and anybody that knows her well, that, she's a good mom.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the, issue when, the dad has been in court, just her simply trying to get him to do what he's supposed to do as a dad. It's no more than financially, because we had already seen that it wasn't going too well as far as, trying to be amicable about, okay, well, we don't have to go to court. We can, deal with this as adults, and what type of agreement can we come up with as far as, you see him on the weekend, I have him during the week, and, that sort of thing. It was, it had to be taken to another level.
Okay. Wow.
And as I said, he had exhibited violence toward her before.
Mm-hmm. Because he didn't want to let go of the relationship.
Exactly. He didn't want the relationship absolved, but, everybody has their threshold of what they can and can't take, and I believe, wholeheartedly that my daughter had just got to the point where, okay, this relationship is not going to work. I have no problem with my son seeing their dad, but me and their dad are not going to be together. Everybody doesn't take that too well, Tamara. Everybody can't make that claim break and say, okay, well, we're just going to agree to disagree and be peaceful if not for anything else, but for our children.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody's not, inclined to that.
Oh, absolutely. We know that. We know everybody can't take that. That's the reason why, there's so many, I'm not saying that this is what he did, but I'm saying that we know that to be true. Everybody can't take it there. So that's the reason why so many young women are in their grave now. Well, women of all ages.
Exactly. And my advice was always to my daughter as well as it is to my other daughter, if a man does not treat you like the Nubian queen that you are, you're supposed to excavate that person from your life, because, disagreeing, bumping heads back and forth, it only can lead to bad things. It leads to bad things as far as rearing the children, what the children are watching and seeing every day. It leads to bad things as far as verbal abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. So, I've always planted a seed in my girls that, okay, if it's not working and you're not being treated like the Nubian queen that you are, then the best thing for the both of you is to move on.
Mm-hmm. So now I kind of want to go back to the maintenance man a little bit. Now, did the police question him, or he just volunteered this information?
Well, he was volunteering information for a while, and then when it did get to a point where the police were questioning him and, giving him a little bit more attention than I guess he cared to have, at that point, then, he just shut down. Wouldn't talk to him, came up with all these complimentary stories about his blood pressure medicine. It's why he couldn't take the polygraph. It was just one thing after another.
So he made sure.
He has been officially questioned by the police department, but now getting him to take a polygraph was something that he was not. In the beginning he agreed to it, and then, when it drew closer to the time to do it, he backpedaled to the point where, as frustrating as it is, that's something that they have to do voluntarily, which is a very serious source of frustration for me because, why do you not want to take a polygraph test?
And so he made sure that he stressed the fact that he stressed, just volunteered. He voluntarily said, I made the key and I'm the only other person that had the key. How he know?
Exactly, and he was injecting himself into this so weirdly because the very morning that my dad went over to get my grandsons, on the day that we found out that all this was going on, I mean, he was there then. He let my dad into the apartment. My dad said he had this kind of like, bizarre look on his face. Sometimes, you can see something in a person just by their facial expressions, their mannerisms, and things like that. And then, at another, prayer vigil that I was having for my daughter, it was when we made the statement about the key, that she was into an argument with another young lady that was working in the rental office that he, didn't care for. And then, I caught him in a lie because at first he was telling me that he had never done any work in her apartment, which I know there were certain things in my daughter's apartment that had been done and that was supposed to still be being done, that the ball was being dropped on. And, when I caught him up in certain things, that's when, oh, yeah, it was me. I mean, it's simple. He said, was you the person that came in to do these things, or was it?
Right. If he watched her house every night, if he saw how she came and went, he said he kept track of her. He couldn't remember if he had ever did any work in her apartment.
Exactly. And then when I nailed him down, like when I know for a fact that this was done, she had a hole in her bedroom wall that she was waiting to repair. She had an issue in her kitchen. Then it was like, yeah, I did do that. So that put me in a position of, wait a minute, you know what you do. First you're trying to distance yourself from the situation. But then you're not knowing the close connection and communication that me and my daughter had. When I bring things out to you that you probably didn't expect that she had disclosed to anyone, then you had no other choice but to come out. But why not come out with it at first? Is my point. Why not come out with it at first? And then he gave us the run around Mulberry Bush about, he had saw her getting out of the car with somebody one day, but it was broad daylight, and he didn't see who it was, what they looked like. If you're paying enough attention to see who she's getting out the car with, you're not going to see any type of features. Was they tall? Was they short? Was they light skin? Was they dark skin? What color clothes did they have on? You're not going to pay attention to any of those other, avenues. His story just kept flip-flopping so much till, and even at one of the prayer vigils that the original detective was at, she got quite a bit of information that was a little bit unsavory about his past, which it turned out that apparently he was not even supposed to be working for the complex at all, given what I'm understanding from the information I've been told, his past criminal record.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then ironically enough, a week or so, maybe a couple of weeks, after my daughter disappeared, all of a sudden, all these key players, from the maintenance man to the young lady in the office, to anybody that looked like a key player in this, was fired.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's some real slimy things that have gone on. And I'm saying that, to try to be as politically correct as I can right now.
They never told y'all why the people were fired. Well, I guess
I
they...
never even knew that these people were fired until, I started really putting the clamps down on the police department to give me some answers, point blank, period. You know, there's no more, you know, well, we're going to get back to you. There's no more, well, we're investigating that. There's no more, you know. I just had gotten to the point where I was, let's just say, fooled to the realm with excuses.
And you basically just started investigating it, taking it up on yourself to start going and getting leads and actually just taking it to them. Am I right?
As I discussed with you already, dear, me and my daughter, my son, and my dad, and my family members, all that have been active in this from the beginning, went out and did the groundwork ourselves to find certain people. And these people I have shoved at the police. Literally. Check these people out. I have phone numbers, I have dates, I have, you know, a file on my daughter. You know, at this point, and juncture, sometimes I have to go back to my file, like if it's a phone number that a detective asked me for, that they know I had at the time because of the fact that me and my daughter, my children, my daughter, my son, and my dad, you know, found people back then.
So the detectives actually come to you all to ask you all for the information on these people.
Oh yeah, that it's been multiple, various times that they come back to me in reference to some information that I gave them early on in the investigation into my daughter's abduction.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there because we need to take another quick break, and we'll be right back. Real Talk with Tamara. On today's show, I've been speaking with Valencia Harris. Valencia called in from Washington, D.C. to speak about her daughter, Unique Harris. Unique went missing October 10th of 2010 without a trace from her apartment under suspicious circumstances. Well, Valencia, you know, we've kind of come to the end, Miss Harris. I want you, how can the public assist in helping families that have missing loved ones?
I'll say the number one way that the public can help is, you know, I notice when I go on like my Facebook page and I'm sharing certain information about my daughter and I ask people to please share, I notice that I get a lot of likes, but I notice that a lot of people don't take the next step to share the information. Sharing is caring also. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Sharing works hand in hand with support and prayers and all of that, because the more that we get these people's faces out in the public and shove it out into the mainstream and the masses of people, the better our chances are to find a lot more missing people that are being found. I say first and foremost, when you go on your Facebook pages or your Instagram pages or whatever social media outlet that you use, and you see these things, share these things. Don't just like them, share them, because when you share them, you're taking it farther beyond your own eyes. As far as, you know, the number of people that are seeing this and the number of opportunities that us families in this position have at finding our loved one.
Okay.
Sharing as far as social media is number one as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. What would you like to say? I'm going to ask you about the film that you all did also, but I also want to ask you, what would you like to say to those families of missing persons that have missing children and missing loved ones just like you?
First and foremost, I want to say to them, I want them to know that you never, ever, ever have have to accept no for an answer as far as any avenue that you would be trying to, give to the police department as far as helping to find your loved one. I've had several incidences where, if I would have been one to accept no, my daughter's case would have gotten this far. I'm a person of, I'm willing to stand on a million no's to get to that one yes that I need. So definitely, first and foremost, to any family member or, friend of a missing person, never just let the answer to you be no, regardless of what it is. This is your loved one, and if you don't fight for your loved one, please trust and believe me when I say, no one else is going to fight for them like you do. And you have to fight, for, there's no other than, world and earthly entities that will not fight for your loved one. No one is going to fight for my daughter like I am because I'm her mom, her children are too young, and, me and my daughter and my son and, my dad, my closest family members, are the only ones that are actually going to fight for your niece. Because these other people, they don't know your family member. They're just a case number to them. I've told police officers and detectives on my daughter's case before that tried to patronize me. Miss Curtis, I know how you feel. No, you don't know how I feel. You don't go home every night and not be able to hug your child and touch your child and talk your child and love on your child. So no, you don't understand how I feel. And don't try to patronize me when I want to get done. My daughter is the victim here. You all are the ones that are supposed to be assisting me in finding her, and I want it done. Never, if you don't feel in your heart of heart and your soul of souls that no is the appropriate answer to whatever the question or scenario or search or whatever it is that you want done by these entities that are supposed to be assisting us with finding our loved ones, never accept no if your heart tells you it should be a yes.
Okay, and quickly tell us about the film that you did, the project.
So I'm really, really proud of this film. It's doing marvelous. It's won the Black Film Festival in Las Vegas. It's been in Charlotte, North Carolina, where it did well as far as getting the momentum going. It's recently been accepted in the Diversity Cannes Film Festival in France, and I did this with actually three American university students that followed, my search for unique for a whole year. And it's a 20-minute documentary. It's coming to a lot of the film festivals. It's on blackfilm.com. It's also a Facebook page that is set up. The film is called Non-Critical. And, it's doing very well. I'm so proud of it. I'm proud of the American University students, Chelsea Marsh and Daniela Perez, because they were very vigilant. We were hearing from, the police department, in my opinion, was trying to stop us from this happening. And, they did a lot of the ground and the hard work that was necessary to get the film, to where it is now. And it's doing very well. We have Roxbury International Film Festival coming up in Boston, Massachusetts. So just, I want your listeners to know, look out for it at the film festival coming to your area. Again, it's called Non-Critical.
And I want to ask you one more thing. Do you feel that your daughter is still alive?
Oh, that's the question that gnaws at me every day of my existence if this situation is going on. This is one of the reasons why I set up a Facebook page. Awaiting Unique Safe Return is one of the Facebook pages. I have my Facebook page, of course, Valencia, Washington, D.C. You can find me on Facebook. I have a specific phone number set up, which number is 804 267-0873 for, people to, call me and give me advice and, me being to give them advice. I have an email address, all lowercase letters, HARRIS_BAL627 @yahoo.com. And I've opened up a PayPal account because some people were asking me about how they could make donations towards my church when I had these vigils. I've had 10 vigils for Unique to date, when we buy balloons and, things of that nature. I wanted to do a t-shirt drive, to help find her. So these are, just avenues that I've set up again. The phone number is 804-267-0873, and my Facebook page is that I have set up specifically for the search for Unique. It's called Awaiting, AWAITING, Unique's Safe Return. And of course, again, my email address, which is all lowercase letters, HARRIS_V as in Valiant, A, L as in Larry, 627@yahoo.com.
Okay, Miss Harris, I definitely want to thank you for calling in. And we are praying for Unique's safe return. We are. It's been 5 years. It's been 5 years, and there's still hope. If your daughter could hear you right now, what would you like to say to her in closing?
I'd like to tell her, Unique, we love you now more than we ever have before. We're still looking for you. We will not stop looking for you until we bring you home to your children and all of us that love you, safe and sound. Stay in prayer like your mom taught you to do, and just know that we are here for you. We love you. We have not stopped looking for you, and your mom is going to find you, or she's going to die trying to find you. I've gone through a few things just in this year that could have stopped me, but I'm not going to stop. I will not stop, and I will not let anyone bury my daughter. I will not do that. I will not let anybody bury my daughter or sweep this under the rug. And I'm just as vigilant and tenacious now as I was in the beginning to find you. And that will not stop. And you just hold on and you stay in prayer, baby. Mama's coming to find you.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for calling in, and I want to thank you all for tuning in to Real Talk with Tamara. That was Valencia Harris, the mother of Unique Harris. She was calling in from Washington, D.C. Of course, you can see all the information that she gave about her film, about donating funds, about the vigil that she has at the bottom of the screen. Unfortunately, we run out of time. I look forward to having her on here again because, as I told her before, I think she's the voice of all mothers. She's strong. She's just got that tenacity. God has just given her strength. He's just given her a wealth of strength. But I want to thank you all for tuning in to Real Talk with Tamara. Until next time, God bless us all.
No, 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 no. It's been too long and I'm lost without you. What am I gonna do? Said I've been needing you. So I'm needing you. Saying who's been with you? Is your heart still mine? I wanna cry sometime. I miss you. Off to college. Yes, you went away. Straight from high school, you up and left me. We were close friends, also lovers. Did everything for one another. Now you're gone and I'm lost without you here now. But I know I gotta live and make it somehow. Come back to me. Can you feel me? Hear me calling for you. 'Cause it's been too long and I'm lost without you. What am I gonna do? Said I've been needing you. Is your heart still mine? I wanna cry sometime. Now I'm sitting here thinking about you and the days we used to share. It's driving me crazy. I don't know what to do. I'm just wondering if you still care. I don't wanna let you know that it's killing me. I know you got another life, you gotta concentrate, baby. Come back to me. take you, baby. Yeah, yeah. Is your heart still mine? No. I miss you. It's been too long and I'm lost without you. What am I gonna do? I've been needing you, wanting you. Wondering if you're the same and who's been with you. Is your heart still mine? Yeah. I miss you. Too long. Tell me what I'm gonna do. Yeah. Wondering if you're the same and who's been with you. Is your heart still mine? Yeah, yeah. Oh, baby. I'm lost without you. Oh, no. Wondering if you're the same and who's been with you. Yeah.
This has been a Tamara's Productions.